Hello my dear friends, this is a PaintyKat and today we're going to paint rainy city. First step we're going to start, it's a transfer of sketch. I'm using today 3 types of brushes and as you can see today I'm going to paint with gouache. These types of brushes really handy if we're going to paint houses because of lines. And first I'm going to do it's a really thin layer of clear white. It's a zinc white. I better like zinc white because it have less coverage than titanium, and also because it's have a cold undertone instead of yellowish in titanium. But it's, you know, it's up to you. If you have titanium one and haven't zinc, use whatever you have at home. If in the future you will really like gouache as a material, I really recommend to you to get both of whites and keep it at home. You will understand, you know, you will see the difference in the process of work with experience, of course. Next color, it's a color of gray sky. Main blue, it's cobalt blue. But we don't need a really bright blue color. For rainy, cloudy sky, please mix also a little bit of black into the blue. Mix all together plus white. And you know what? Don't mix too well your colors on your palette. See these stripes? These vertical stripes I have now on my paper. It's because I'm not mixing really well colors on my palette. I'm taking with my brush a little bit of white, a little bit of blue, tiny amount of black. After I'm making, you know, like a kind of small steps with my brush on palette. Tap, 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 mixing a little bit. And after I'm starting to paint on a paper. So final mixing, it's going on a paper. Okay, you can see now it's a really rainy effect, isn't it? Because all my strokes just vertical, that's it. Don't make any strokes with the angles, something like this, no, nothing. Today we're gonna paint, we're gonna have a really interesting effect. Imagine you're going to make photo, you're making a photo, but tiny drops of rain you have on a glass on your photo camera. So this effect we're gonna create. And very important to create smooth, a little bit blurring cityscape, and after on top of it we're gonna create really sharp, very contrasted drops in the end. Okay, you can check final result of this tutorial. Welcome on my Patreon, right? There you have work how it's gonna look in the end. So keep in mind, most contrasted details here gonna be raindrops. City we're going to paint just with vertical strokes, and we're gonna blend colors together, creating very soft looking cityscape. You can see I'm using the same technique as for sky. Again, not mixed too well. Colors now I'm using, it's again cobalt blue plus a little bit of white It's a golden ochre. And you know, this city view kind of popular in my city when I'm living. It's a St. Petersburg, and this is a cathedral in the center of a city. Lots of tourists going to see this building, and it's a very popular view for cards. You can check it in internet to see how it's look in real life. But again, we're not a photo camera by ourselves, right? We have our own human view, artistic view on a cityscape. So we're not copying exactly detail by detail from the photos, for example. No, we really want to create a rainy effect. What I also like about this material, this is a gouache again. This is very soft finish. All gouache usually have a matte finish, and also gouache have it's looking more white when it's drying. As soon as you will start to use this material, you will notice it in the end. And I really like it because painting, when it's dry completely, it's looking, you know, it's have so pleasant pastel, a little bit of pastel colors instead of bright colorful acrylic. So sometimes, you know, it depends of what I'm creating. So sometimes I really prefer gouache more than acrylic for bright landscapes, for really beautiful bright flowers, colorful flowers. I like acrylic as well, but I really recommend to you try both paints and decide what better for yourself. As for me, I like both acrylic and gouache, and this tutorial, by the way, you can paint also with acrylic. You can see now I'm not creating lots of details. This cathedral calling Saved on Blood in St. Petersburg. It's covered with mosaical patterns, completely all walls, but we're not gonna paint those patterns at all. Imagine we have a rain, a really intense rain in front of us. That's not possible to see details. All you can see in a really, you know, rainy weather, it's silhouettes of buildings. It's some colors, maybe brick color, gray colors, something like that. On the left side from this cathedral, we have a yellow color building with a white columns. I'm painting it now. So main colors, main mixes here between, again, golden ochre, a little bit of grayish bluish, something from my palette from previous mixes. And again, don't try to create very detailed background. This is background still. All details we're gonna create on a foreground. This is important. If you over detailing background part, it's gonna jump on the front and will take attention from the viewer. Columns there are white, but we can't see really white details this far, so it's more gray. Same way, you can create cityscapes that you have around you. Just, take your photo camera, go on the street and make view you really like and try to transform it into the painting rainy landscape on a paper. About paper quality, I recommend all the time, really, in each tutorial, I recommend to use high quality watercolor paper. Gouache, it's a water-based paints, so top layer of paper taking amount of water, and if paper too low quality, it can be really bumpy in a process, and it's just not comfortable to paint on a paper like this. Some paper can have a texture, for example, textured as a canvas. I really like it. Really, I also can recommend it to you because in the end you're getting effect, it can look almost as a painting on a canvas. Very, very interesting. And a canvas also giving detailing by itself. Also, if you have some of it around you, pick it, try them all. You never can make your own decision about materials, do you need it or not, before you really will try it. Even if you saw something interesting, some materials, some tools, brushes on a video tutorials, but before you really will try it, you will never understand if you need it or not. All materials without links where I'm getting it. All my materials and tools you can find down below. If you have any questions about materials, techniques, you can ask on my Patreon. You can see now I'm done now with the background. Also, it's a small building next to yellow one. It have a gray color, just the same as a cathedral, mix of cobalt blue plus black plus white, and also brick color of the next one. Also there, in those place, we have a bank. It's a river bank, so it's a bridge now. You can see it on a left side of composition. Now I'm moving on the right side of my painting, working with the buildings there. About sketch for this tutorial you can find on my Patreon. You can print it on a normal paper for print. Usually it's have low quality, and we can't paint with the paints on it, but I demonstrated before. You have to cover with a pencil, printed sketch, cover backside, then you're putting this sketch on a watercolor paper, and you can transfer all lines on a good quality paper. This way you'll get absolutely the same sketch as I have from the start. So here basically all we have to do, it's a cover with paints, with mixes of different colors, these buildings. Remember about main rule, don't mix too well colors on palette and use flat brush. All my strokes are vertical. front part of buildings here lighter and side parts can be a bit darker. Also now you can see here a little bit of a red color. I'm really trying, demonstrate to you palette and show to you all mixes I'm creating on it. I also added now a little bit of black and brown into this mix. It's mostly, it's mostly a burnt umber. I don't like to use much of black. Be careful and cover all areas of paper. Don't leave any empty paper without any layer of color. Your brush strokes can be longer or shorter. It basically doesn't matter, but what's important is to keep your brush strokes vertical. I'm blending a little bit on a paper, spreading up and down these colors. Colors mixes not bright and not clean. I mean, here you can't see bright yellow or red or a clear brown. It's always mixes and mixes. This city, St. Petersburg, where I'm living, it's famous about bad weather here. And now when it's autumn, now it's September here, end of September. Yeah, it's a rainy weather each day almost. So main color here, it's a gray. It's very cold and low light on the streets. Even if buildings have a bright colors like yellow, brick color, some others, details not looking bright and colorful at all. So all mixes here on my painting now, you can see it's the same. It's not clear. It's some bluish, brownish something. This red here looking fancy, right? I like it. Here it's already almost a foreground. Here we have a small cafe and it's kind of famous. Here I had a coffee in this cafe a couple of times. Entrance at this cafe covered with a small red shade. But again, look, I'm not creating lots of details. All my strokes still vertical, at least most of them. We will add a little bit of details on a next step, but now we're creating most important shapes and colors. As soon as I'm running out of my paints, I'm adding more. I like to do it, I'm trying at least, to add more colors with palette knives, because if you will put your brush into a can with a color, with a paint, to put your brush into fresh colors, your gouache can be a little bit of dirty, so after your work will be done, you have to clean it. My gouache, it's very common here, calling masterclass. I will try to add a link for you guys, because as I know it's not that common in other countries. In my opinion, it's the most it's a best gouache in my view. Yeah, I tried also Holbein. It's good, very, but it's kind of expensive, I'd say. Masterclass, much cheaper, and it's giving a very nice ability to, you know, to work with paints with a nice coverage. Gouache very similar to oil, and if you ever thinking about try how to paint with oil, I really recommend try gouache first. It's cheaper, much cheaper than oil, at least because you don't need to get a canvas for it. Again, gouache, acrylic as well, it's a watercolor, water-based colors, and it's possible to train your skills on a paper. So yeah, it's cheaper, means you will do more tries. Also, it's very important, more you try, better you get, right? Better skills you get. So why not? And if you will be able to get masterclass gouache set of 12 colors, get it without any doubts. It's very cheap for good quality artistic paints and colors. Amazing colors, very close to professional oil paints, because pigment they using for these paints, if it's the same pigment that we have in oil paints. It's a professional colors. It's a ochre, it's a cobalt, it's a Mother Lake red, not just, you know, those colors that we have at children gouache sets. No, this is a different, this is a professional gouache material. By the way, if you're interested about gouache works, it was very popular at 18th and 19th centuries. Google gouache paintings, or you know, antique gouache paintings. You'll get lots of very good quality professional illustrations and paintings. You can see now I'm starting to add details. So I picked up another brush. It's half the same shape. It's a flat brush, but it's a smaller than a previous one, and I'm adding windows with a black color, just making vertical stripes, not a lot, and it's placed as we usually have a windows on a buildings, not everywhere, just on a side of buildings, on a left side, just as stripes without any detailings, as you know, as a frames, something like this. We don't need it. This is a white banner here. It's always there. It's a banner with some local advertising. Here I'm more accurate, as you can see now, using not only vertical but some horizontal strokes. This banner is an interesting detail, so I want to pay a little more attention on it. And next, it's a road. All buildings kind of dark at this area. Usually walls here wet when rain following, so that's why it's darker. And also we're going to paint asphalt road with reflections on it. I'm just adding dark colors, some mix of dark colors. It's a red, it's burnt umber, bit of black as well. As I told you before, on our left side here it's a bank, it's a river actually here. Color of fence, dark brown because of stone. It's a stone fence. Brushwork the same, it's vertical strokes. Color really intense, really dark here, but not, not juicy, not bright. It's mixes and mixes, and a black making not that saturated colors, shades. If you had no experience before with gouache, you probably will notice that this paints drying on your palette. This is a normal, and it's different from acrylic. You can make gouache watery again after it's dried. Acrylic you can't. If acrylic dried, no way to make it watery again, no matter what, no matter how well you mixed it. Gouache you can, so you can see I adding more water sometimes, even if mixes already drying on my palette, and I'm taking color again. Okay, now I like this fence. Sides darker and a top part of fence a little bit lighter, just for shape. And a road, as I told you, it's asphalt, but it doesn't mean we're gonna create it completely gray. if asphalt wet and we have lots of water on it, it will reflect everything above, not just colors we already have on our buildings. It's also gonna be a colors of sky. It can be some reflections of light. For example, you can see now a lot of yellow, it's lights reflections, I mean yellow colors, and I'm blending in road colors, blending, connecting together with all other parts. We have here also someone going with umbrella, and look what I'm doing now. I'm covering you can think I'm covering completely, but it's not really so. I added now some extra water in this mix on my palette, so if you will look closer, you actually will see silhouette very well, right? Because it's a very thin layer of gouache. I can see still all lines of my sketch. It's very helpful, especially if you haven't lots of experience with the humans, how to paint people on your paintings. If you have no, you need to transfer sketch that I added on my pattern, and you can create it with the paints when sketch visible well, right? Blending everything, checking that I have no any paper left. This is a side part of fence. This is a part of the road for pedestrians only. Central part of this road, also bikes can go there, not just people walking. It's not, not very safe. So safe area, it's these small areas on both sides for pedestrians only. So these lines, dark lines, this is a side part of stones there. And a little bit of reflection. Your brush strokes have to be very, very light. Touch paper gently. Spread paint gently. Don't push your brush too hard. This is a reflection of the banner. Let's add some more. Here we have edge of stone. So we can see some light as well. And spreading a little bit, but again with vertical brush strokes. let's create umbrella. For umbrella, I really like red color. We have already some red details here, right? So red umbrella will look here just a perfect. Person here, again, don't create with too much details. Don't paint exactly, coat, I don't know, hands, very, very detailed legs or something like this. No, it's just a silhouette again. It's a rainy weather, so we can't see many details through the rain. Just a shape of walking person holding a red umbrella and a reflection, of course. Just vertical brush strokes a little bit. For better control, here you can use round-shaped watercolor brush. It has a tiny tip, so some details you can fix with smaller brushes. Next step, we're going to create city lights. They placed close to buildings and have a long black poles. Poles just black. I recommend to mix a little bit of white or maybe yellow into the black, because this way black will look a little softer, at least for background poles. For poles on a foreground, you can use clear black. It will give high contrast, which is good for foreground, right? I'm not trying to paint this light pole with just a single long brush stroke. You know why? Because if you will do any mistake in this long one stroke, it will be really hard to correct after. But if you will do some small strokes and one of it will be not correct, this is really easy to fix. Imagine we have here a perspective. And let's plan lights one by one, following perspective line. That's it. Lights planned, so now we can detail it better. Main colors here is just grayish, maybe a bit of brown. I'm not gonna create a light shining, because it's not an evening yet, it's a day really, but days here when rain going all the day, days here very gray and not light at all. So trust me, daylight can look like this. Some details, but just on a one light, because it's close to us. Some city lights have very interesting design, you know, all those black lines and details. So if you want to detail it better, to create curved metallic interesting things around light, it's up to you. You can add more, and also, you know, it depends from your own view on this landscape. If you need it, if you like to see it on your painting, you can add. And also you can check tutorial on my channel about autumn. There we created more detailed city lights. As soon as we created poles, black poles, it's have to be reflected by wet asphalt. So I added some reflections as well. I like how it's looking now, this landscape, and if you want to, you can stop at this step and your painting rainy landscape can be done. But also I wanna to show you, to demonstrate you how to create water drops on it. In my view, it's giving better feeling of rain. Here it's drops. We starting with white. Let's plan some water drops. It's just a normal #1 watercolor brush, and as you can see now, thick white part placed on a down part of these circles. One by one. Yeah, honestly, it's a lots of work, but in the end, effect can be very interesting. Some small drops, I'm just putting white dot and blending up a little bit with a dry brush. Another brush in my hand, it's a dry, this one, it's a dry brush. White dot and blend a little bit. Let's create more. Technique kinda easy, and these water drops looking so interesting because of a background all painted, and I told you it's important, all painted with just vertical strokes. As soon as we painting with another brush strokes, round one now. It's starting to look so, so different, so catchy. Yes, you have to be really, kind of patient, because each water drop you have to put here one by one. No any tricks about it. Interesting moment, white gouache can look half transparent after it's drying. So for really better contrast, you have to put 2, sometimes 3 layers of white. The same for sky area. Let's paint it one by one. And some drops can be not round shaped. You can check photos of a real raindrops on a window. You will see some of them looking not round at all. Some water roads floating on a window. So now I'm creating this rivers, some running some running water drops. Now we're just planing, right? How many drops gonna be here? With white color, it's very easy to do, because if you did any mistake, you put a drop you didn't like, it's easily can be fixed, just blending with a darker color, something like this. But if you will work with a black, and we will do again for shadows and for contrast, black color not that easy to fix, because if you will do it with black color, you can get a dirty spots on your painting. So be careful. All planning for water drops you have to do only this step when we're working with just a white color. If you have 2 kinds of white at your home, as I do, I have zinc and titanium, told you from the start of this tutorial. Now it's a time for titanium for better coverage. Okay, now it's the next step. Main water drops already here, and I'm creating now shadows. Shadow going all around, but it's more dark and thick on the top part of a water drop. Down part of water drop you can leave almost without any dark line there. It can be so tiny, so thin, but top part there, it's a really dark and thick shadow. Now it's a mix, it's not just a black color, it's a mix of blue, cobalt blue, plus black, plus white. Mix kinda dark, but still it's not a black. I told you about not round-shaped drops here, and this is one of it. Looking as a small bean, right? Actually, right now it was a rain on a street, so I just walked closer to my window and I checked how real water drops looking on it. So that's why you can see here this not just a round shaped drops with a different shapes because of real life. One by one. Go all around, but thicker part on top and thinner on a down. Here, where we have a building, behind some water drops, you can add also brick color, dark red brown. Don't forget to go all around. Like this. Also, we have to create shadows around these small rivers. Like this. Don't use too watery gouache or acrylic. If you use acrylic paints, it have to be half dry, not too watery. And the next one. And the last one, I believe. And maybe create one more here. So many drops, right? But if you will create just a small amount, it will not give effect of really rainy feeling on your painting. True, it's a lot of work, right, to create this amount of water drops. But as I told you before this step, you always can create just a rainy cityscape without any drops at all on a last layer. In my view now, this painting almost done. I'm just blending a little bit, blending with a gray color on the left corner here, and I will put dark detail in the center of each drop, because here background behind these drops are really dark. Reflection in a water drop depends from the view behind it. If there behind these drops dark background, middle part have to be dark, and then those white circle going around. Very helpful if you will do 1-2 steps back, especially when your painting almost done, and you will check your painting from the distance, because it's giving more common look, and you can understand what areas still need to fix something, to put some tiny paint brushes here or there. And also, I recommend to you, sign your work. I have lots of questions of it, and still I have those questions about, can I sign painting if it's based on your tutorial? And answer is yes, you can and you have to. Even if you're basing on a YouTube tutorials, or you creating somewhere at painting lessons, it's still your work, painting with your own hands. You spend a lot of time with it, you learned some new techniques. Yes, please sign it. And I also recommend to you, sign just with a pencil, with a tiny numbers, at what day and year you created this painting, and after you will check, on the next year you will check what paintings you have done on the previous year. You can understand what progress you have. Really, you can see it painting by painting, one by one. If you're not putting dates at what day you create this or those painting, after some time will pass, you will forget about exactly time you created, and you will not see your progress so clear. Trust me, if you will create at least one painting each week, when 1 year will pass, you will be amazed what progress you have done, and how your skills getting better and better with each tutorial, with each painting you have done. So this is important, and I'm done for today. I can tell you final detailization here. 4 drops you can do with just a clear black, but not use it too much, because it's giving final highest contrast everywhere where you're putting it. Just a tiny look, tiny, very, very small drops here or there, even without any white details already. If you have any questions about this tutorial or any other tutorials on my channel, don't be shy to ask. All my tutorials, I'm trying my best to explain each step I'm doing, why I'm doing this or this, how I'm mixing colors, what my preferences with materials, and I'm really important for me to know with what paintings you working, what brushes you have and you know well how to paint with it, what brushes you interesting with. So maybe I will demonstrate it in my future tutorials. Together we can understand better how to work with it. So just ask if you have any questions. Very, very important to know for me, to see your interest to my tutorials. It will give me more passion and a power to do what I'm doing, to create new interesting paintings for you. Even if you're not creating the same painting, maybe you'll get some experience from it, and it will help to you to take your brushes into your hands and start painting. You can see now I'm doubling white. I told you white color can look more transparent after it's drying. So even if it's a titanium white that have a better coverage than zinc, still some areas for bright, for contrast, you have to cover twice, sometimes 3 times even. Depends how white areas you want to create. On a blending. Very important to catch those moments when you have to tell yourself to stop, to stop touch your painting. So many drops can be created here, but don't do too much. It's possible to cover completely all city view, but we don't need it, right? It's always a risk, even for myself. If I'm starting to detail, sometimes I'm risking over-detail it. That's why important to step 1 2 steps back and check from the distance. This is the rule I know from my art school, and my teacher reminded me each 10-15 minutes to do it, to check from the distance, especially when painting close to the final result. I will remind it in all my tutorials about this rule, about how important it is, and for me, I think now it's a time to stop to work on my water drops, and I will put my sign. I'm choosing a black color for sign and a type, very nice to remove with a hairdryer, with a hot air. That's it. My painting is done. I hope you guys had a fun with me, creating this painting with me. It was a PaintyKat, and I wish you all the best.